All right, we're on the air. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michiels. We have special guest tonight, Mitch Riley from Eagle Paragliding. It's Eagle Paragliding, right?
That's right. Yeah, Eagle Paragliding out of Santa Barbara, California.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited tonight. We're going to have a great show. Highly recommended pilot. It's actually, he's been recommended for a couple years now to be on the show, and I finally found him. I found a link to get to him, and somebody shared his details with me, and so we reeled him in last minute, and I'm so excited. I really appreciate you coming on. I know that it's flyable right now. I'm guessing that you could be at the park, and likewise, I could be over at Blossom, but we're doing our community service tonight, and to the paragliding community. And I am anyways. That's why I'm wearing the prison shirt. Let me just do the quick order of duty. We have a new sponsor of the show this evening, and the new sponsor is Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school there in Nebraska, and he has a good thing going on over there. And I'm going to do a little screen share action here just to give you guys some stuff to look at while I'm talking about this. Here we go. Show's also brought to you by Resurgence PPG. Todd Scandrett started Resurgence PPG to help our wounded veterans or veterans in general get their feet off the ground. And he's a 501c3. If you'd like to support the cause, you can go to resurgenceppg.com. Show's also brought to you by Fly My PPG. Mike Cotter has a school. If you're anywhere in the Michigan area, you're interested in powered paragliding, you can reach out to Mike Cotter and the guys at flymyppg.com. Show's also brought to you by paraorangeproducts.com. For parapilots, by parapilots. Go to paraorangeproducts.com for all your paragliding needs. Show's brought to you by ppgsmoke.com. I'm supposed to be scrolling here, aren't I? PPG Smoke donated a whole bunch, literally $10,000 worth of gear to us. PPG Smoke has a contest for the show. He's giving away these smoke machines or chase cams on every episode for an entire year. And so we're about halfway through those, and we're giving one away tonight. And if you want to get involved in that, you can go to paraglidingtalk.com/contest. Also, check out Tri-State Skywalkers. Tri-State Skywalkers is a sponsor of the show, and they have a great thing going on. If you're in the Indiana, Kentucky, or Ohio area, reach out to Brandon McCloud on Facebook. Tri-State Skywalkers Flying Club aims to help out the locals with friendship and organization. And if you're interested in starting a local club, you can reach out to Brandon through the links in the channel. Show is also brought to you by iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors, no better place to get the proper training than iflyindiana.com. Kevin and his team will help you get your feet off the ground. Check out iflyindiana.com. Show is lastly brought to you by paramotortools.com. Go check out his website and get you some tools so that you don't get stuck somewhere where you don't want to be without some tools. All right. I'm excited about the new sponsor. Josh Bowden has been supporting the show from the very beginning. He came on. He was one of the first episodes in the very beginning of the show. And he actually runs an Aviator Alliance school in Nebraska. So they have a great organization over there teaching powered paragliding. And he's just an all-around cool dude and regular on the show. I sent him an invite tonight. I'm sure he's out there teaching if the weather's good. I know I would be out there. So anyways, thank you so much. Really appreciate everybody coming on. I do have one other thing. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the show, or if you're wanting to have me demo or check out your products that you want to promote, you can send stuff now to a P.O. Box. I created a P.O. Box. P.O. Box 710512, Santee, California. Zip code is 92072. That link is in the description. Mitch Riley, you just landed after a pretty outstanding competition there at the Applegate. And I was following a little bit of it. You took third place. Congratulations in that. You made it on the podium. By the way, you're recommended by multiple people to come on the show with your paragliding background. And so I'm so glad. My first question for you is, have you ever seen Paragliding Talk? Did you know about the show?
Actually, I didn't know until you sent me the invite. So
That's awesome.
I was fairly busy today, but watched a couple episodes. And yeah.
Oh, you
it's
did?
Good stuff. Thanks for doing it. And thanks for having me on.
Right.
I was going to say, you got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. 78 or 80 episodes, something like that.
Yeah, this is 79. Yeah.
79, yeah.
Everyone, we reeled another one in. There's tons of people in the chat right now that are watching live, and they're going to have some questions for you at some point. We'll open up for questions and comments about what we're talking, whatever we're talking about. Have you done any powered paragliding, by the way?
No, I never have. Just I've been fairly busy with other things. It's not that I don't want to. I just never have.
Yeah. It's a pretty unique thing. I don't have a motor, but I think it's pretty cool. Most of the people that watch the show, I think, well, maybe 75% are paramotor pilots. I'm trying to convert them all, so that's why I had you on, and we're gonna get some more free flight pilots. One of the main functions of the show is to promote safety and site preservation, things like that, and also just to pick the brains of some of the best pilots that are around. And you came highly recommended. And so I'm pretty excited to pick your brain a little bit. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you got in the sport and ask you some questions about how we can all be safer pilots and make it in the long run. Tell us how you got into the sport.
Well, on a family vacation when I was 8 years old, I took a tandem flight, and it was pretty early in the sport. It was 1992. And from that time on, I just always knew I'd do it as an adult. There was no question in my mind. And finally, when I was 22 years old, I had the money and the time to kind of invest into it, and invested into it pretty hard. I've been committing a lot of my money, time, and effort to it since.
So how long has that been now? You've been a pilot?
13 years, about 13 years.
13. And that started in Santa Barbara with that first tandem flight?
No. At the time, I was living in Colorado, and I went to learn at Point of the Mountain.
Oh, nice.
And flew in Colorado for about 8 years, and then for a few years lived in Nepal in the winters doing tandems, and Sun Valley, Idaho in the summers, and traveling around. And now I've been based in Santa Barbara for about 4 years.
Oh, wow. And that's big boy flying right there. All those sites that you mentioned.
Yeah, I've been all over. And actually, I spend my summers traveling around doing competitions and teaching clinics. So right now I'm up in Washington State, and just had some beautiful flying in the Cascades yesterday. And today it's rainy, but there'll be more good days while I'm here.
Oh, so that's where you are right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
so it's raining right now, so you can't fly.
No, I went on a long run today and then hurried home for this. So hurried back for this. Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that it's not flyable, so I don't feel so bad.
Well, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the competition. And I want to pick your brain a little bit. A lot of the people, and me included, I've never been involved in any kind of competition stuff. I have been following the Red Bull X-Alps and really enjoying what's going on with the sport and how it's growing. Take us through what you experience when you get involved in competitions.
Sure. So this competition I did, the style of competition is called Race to Goal. And basically, there's usually about 100, sometimes 125 or 150 pilots in the competition. And we all have the same list of GPS waypoints on our flight instruments. And then every day, and most of the competitions are a week long, every day the weather is appropriate, which for this competition was 7 days. We had every day. A task committee, which is made up of pilots in the competition. The task committee will get together, and depending on kind of the forecast and logistics of the day, they'll put together a task. And it could look a lot of different ways, but an example is they might say, okay, we have a 5-kilometer cylinder around takeoff, and the start time is 1 p.m. So you can leave that cylinder, you can start the race after 1 p.m. So you launch, you have plenty of time to launch and get positioned somewhere in that cylinder. And then at 1 p.m., you'll see 125 pilots start to go on course. And the next cylinder, let's just say it's a 1-kilometer cylinder and 30 kilometers away. So you'll you'll find your way to that cylinder, and you're kind of working with all these other pilots to find where the lift is, avoid the sink, try to be really efficient on course. You hit the next cylinder, and there's cylinders like that all over the place on the course, once again, based on the conditions of the day. And ultimately, there's a goal at the end. And essentially, whoever makes it around the course fastest usually wins. But there's these things called lead points. So if you're ahead of the pack, you're accruing lead points because it's kind of risky to be in the lead, right? So they want to reward you a little bit to push hard and be in the lead. So here and there, like the fourth place finisher will win the race because they've accrued more lead points than the person who came first. And then, so each one of those days, you're accruing points for your end of competition score. And at the end of the competition, whoever has the highest score wins.
Incredible. So leading the pack has a big influence on obviously your score. When you're you're taking risks as far as you might sink out first or you might miss something. What's the most common mistake guys are making in competitions?
And I'm glad you pointed out. When I'm saying risk, it's risk of not making it to goal. It's not
right.
It's not health risks or something like that.
Right.
The most common mistakes in competition is it's typically to do a little too much independent thinking, right? It's much. Let's say you're in a gaggle of 10 pilots, right? And you see those other 10 pilots make a move that you don't think is the optimum move on course. Well, guess what? 9 or 10 really good pilots are going to make a suboptimal move work pretty darn well. And one pilot by themselves on this more optimal line is probably going to be slower, even though it's a more optimal line, right? So you've really got to choose. You want those lead points, and it's always nice to win the day, to come into goal first, but you've really got to be smart about when you play the independent decisions and when you kind of just work with everybody else as this team, working with the gaggle as you go through the course.
Very good. Interesting. So how many competitions would you say that you've been a part of at this point in 13 years?
Really, I've been hitting them hard for the last 4 or 5 years. So I've probably done, let's say, a dozen or maybe 15 comps.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
somewhere
awesome.
like that.
And
yeah.
I talked to Chris Cote a little bit about your flying, and he was the one that ultimately inspired me to reach out to you. With a lot of those competitions, you got first place.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them. Yeah. I've won some comps.
So when you're, let's talk a little bit about, the risk factor on the danger side of it. How many times have you been in situations where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm flying in this. And would you have not done that if it was not a competition, and maybe take us through risk management?
Well, I also do a lot of free flying cross country, right? All by myself all day long for 9 hours in wild terrain. So I feel like my safest cross country days are in competition, right? You've got a course that the experts in the area have designed for the conditions. You've got 100, 125, 150 other pilots on the same radio frequency, all looking out for each other. You've got a dedicated retrieve organization. You've got a dedicated safety organization. And ultimately for efficiency, doing things like getting really low or flying in really turbulent air or stuff like that. If you're racing, that's not the right thing to do, right? Usually it's staying high, taking strong climbs way up above the ground. That's the way to do really well racing. So when I do see people maybe taking a little bit of health risk for racing, it's more decisions like what glider they fly, right? Sometimes we'll see pilots who are really motivated for comps jump up on gliders before their skills are usually kind of worthy of it. And first of all, that doesn't really help their performance, right? Because we're all going to fly better on a glider that's appropriate for our skill level. And second of all, it's just you're going to be sloppy on that glider, and you're kind of more likely to have an incident. So some pilots make that decision, but if you've trained well, if you're flying the right glider for you, I see cross country competition as the safest way to fly XC.
What do you think about reserves? What type of reserve are you flying with? And do you have more than one?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of different kits. In my competition kit, I have two reserves, and they're both the Octagon, the Nivea Octagon, which is a very good, trusted, simple reserve. In my acro kit, I have a simple round on the left side, pull down apex round, and I have a Regalo on the right side.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the one Regalo I own is on the right side of my acro kit because that might be the reserve I'm most likely to use.
And you're right-handed?
I am right-handed, yep.
Yeah.
And on my adventure kit, which is kind of a lighter weight cross-country kit that's good for hike and fly comps and bivy flying and stuff, I have also just a simple lightweight round. I've actually never thrown a reserve during flight that I needed to. I threw one over a lake on purpose once. So I don't have much experience with how they all work.
Interesting. So what was the reserve that you did throw on purpose?
That was a round. And
Okay.
I was in an SIV course, and it was just, I said, this flight I'm going to throw, so I threw.
Who does Mitch Riley choose to do an SIV with?
You know, this was when Mitch Riley was a much different pilot. This was probably 10 or 11 years ago, and I did it with Andy McRae in Montana, and it was a good experience. Yeah, it was great.
I've heard the name.
Yeah,
maybe we need to get him on the show.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
So let's talk a little bit about, you said you do some clinics. How can somebody get a hold of you if they want to do a clinic with you? The
best way is to contact Eagle Paragliding. It's either eagleparagliding.com or just paraglide.com. And that's who's doing all the booking. And this coming year, over the next year, I think we have something like 8 3-day clinics on the schedule. Then we have a tour in Macedonia after the World Championships. So I'm going to the World Championship in Macedonia, and then after that doing a week-long tour there. And if I remember right, there's only one spot left for that, so you better get on it if you want it. And then we do these, we do tours in Colombia also, which is it's a badass place to fly.
Oh, nice, Colombia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that. What is that? January, late December, January.
Yeah, January and February, like the last week of January and the first 2 weeks of February is when we usually do the tours.
Okay.
And it's fantastic flying. You've got a mixture of flats and mountains, landing zones all over the place, really friendly locals, really a nice place to fly.
I hear good things, and it's not ridiculously overpriced.
No, and pretty easy to get to from the States too. It doesn't take too much time to get there.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So I missed where you said you are right now.
Right now I'm in Seattle, Washington.
Oh, in Seattle. And and that's just the tail end of the competition. You're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah. Actually, my girlfriend Violetta lives up here, so I'm hanging out with her. And then the next competition I have is the Pemberton Open, the Canadian Nationals up in Pemberton, British Columbia. So this is a good spot to wait for that.
Oh, nice. I was actually planning on going this year up to the rat race, but things fell through. And my wife has family up there, so we were thinking about making a little vacation thing, but we're gonna have to wait. And I think it's better let my skill set grow a little bit. And
I can't say enough good things about that competition. Now it's called the Applegate Open, but used to be the rat race. And just fantastic organization, beautiful place to fly. Every time I've been there, we've flown 7 days of tasks. So the weather's consistent. Really a nice thing to be a part of.
And the new team that's running it, I heard, is just excellent. And they're doing a great job, just like the old school days. And that's great.
Yeah,
man.
they're really good. Yeah.
I'm excited. So you've got some real experience under your belt. What do you tell a guy that wants to get in? We got a lot of people that watch the show, and they're obsessed with, they want to get in a free flight. They haven't got off the ground yet. They're wanting to, and some guys, they've got some gear and they've got a little bit of training or whatever. But what do you tell the new guy? What advice do you have for him?
the simplest thing to say is to be humble, right? I get to hang out with some of the best pilots in the world, and the ones who are still improving, the ones who are doing really, really well, are the ones that are humble, the ones that look at the way someone else flies and wonder, oh, should I train that method, or looks at the way someone else ground handles and thinks about trying that. It's about realizing none of us are born for this, right? And we all have to treat it like a long learning experience that we can always improve at. I think that's what will get you the furthest and get you the furthest in the safest ways, to be humble.
Excellent. Except for Kriegel, I'm pretty sure he was born a bird.
You know what? I think he's always my example that the best in the world is still getting better. You know, Kriegel's getting better. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, and it's because he's humble. When he looks at a court, like, that guy plans like no other. He trains like no other. To this day, he spends a lot of time under a glider, spends a lot of time in the mountains, and he's still getting better. If the best in the world can get better, then none of us have any business stopping our training or saying we're there.
I've yet to talk to the top. I'm talking, like, we've had some of the best pilots, in my opinion, on the show already, and all of them have that same attribute. They're still learning stuff. They're still applying themselves. Yeah, that's an incredible thing. And if you don't, for the record, if you don't fly humble, flying will humble you.
Yeah,
And that's a
indeed.
that's a fact of the beast. I want to also talk a little bit about some of your experiences, some of your wild adventures. Have you ever been in a position where you felt like, okay, I'm out of control right now, and this is maybe the glider was flying you for a time or something like that, and what you took away from that?
It's not exactly the answer to your question, but I've got a good story that kind of goes with that. One time, farmer Matt Beechner and I were flying in Idaho, and we were on a big flight in Idaho, and the clouds were getting tall, and we knew they were getting tall, but we figured that we could push through this mountain range, the Pioneer Mountains, very beautiful, big, sharp, rocky mountains, and then push out into the desert. This desert, it happens to be craters of the moon. It's lava rock. It's really sharp, dried up lava rock for, I don't know, 100 square miles, for a long way, 60 square miles maybe. So we figured we could kind of get past those big clouds and punch out into the desert and then have an epic flight in the desert. Our timing was off, and we ended up being right near the big clouds when they all became thunderstorms, and we didn't really have anywhere to run because we were in these deep mountains with a west wind, with a headwind if we tried to escape, and too much wind to escape. So we had to, and I mean, when we noticed this, you know, you look over your shoulder and you see a 10,000 foot wall of dust coming from this way, and, you know, black hail and ice and storm on the other side of it. And then actually, like a few miles in front, just this ring of dust devils, you know, also 10,000 foot tall dust devils. I mean, and I should preface this as like, it was two guys who were like pushing really hard, and we make some dumb choices because of that, and maybe some competitiveness got in there, and it wasn't something that happened to us. It was something we did, right? It was obvious to tell the clouds were growing big. We made the decision to push deep into the Pioneers, even when it looked fairly certain that thunderstorms were going to happen. So anyway, we have to run. We had to run over the lava desert, right? There's no other options. There's nowhere else to go. And literally, we had never studied the route straight through the lava before, and we didn't really know what was on the other side. And I remember I had my flight deck and my phone on there, and I zoomed out in Google Maps and just like saw nothing but lava, you know, for a few zooms. It was like, well, stop looking at that. Let's just fly. And anyway, we start this glide out over craters of the moon, and we're getting a pretty good glide, and still that dust wall is behind us, and still these dust devils are in front of us. And then all of a sudden, Farmer's right in front of me and to my right, and he just drops off, you know, 1-to-1 glide ratio, whatever, 8 meters a second, 10 meters a second of sink, whatever you want to call it, just drops off. I'm like, ooh, and I take like a slightly different line, but same thing. And super turbulent sink, just getting the glider open. I was flying a comp wing, an Enzo 2, so just really handling the glider, and about 700 feet from the ground, which, you know, landing there, it's hard to imagine that it wasn't certain death, right? There's 50 miles of wind, 60 miles of wind right behind me, and it's this really sharp, even landing there in zero wind would be a hard deal, not injuring yourself. It's just crazy lava. It's dried, sharp, glass type rock. And 700 feet from the ground, we found a climb, and it was a climb where I couldn't stop my risers from continually half twisting, right? You're flying and the glider's moving so much that like just half twists all the time. I don't get twist that much, you know? So just half twist all the time, and a really strong climb. And we take it up, and then we're on the opposite of all that sink. We're just on this really turbulent lift for miles, and then we fall off it again, and we kind of go through this roller coaster of like the sink and the lift and all super turbulent for a few hours until we cross the lava. And it's getting less and less every time. And then we get to the other side of the lava, and I see a truck driving on a dirt road, the first sign of anyone we've seen for hours, right? And the dust is going straight up. I'm like, there's no wind down there. And then there's this reservoir, American Falls Reservoir, something like that, near Pocatello. There's this reservoir over there, and the water's glassy on the reservoir, right? And I'm like, oh, man, we have zero wind on the ground. And we land in this town park, and I remember I walked over to Farmer, and I tried to give him a high five. He's like, he used cuss words. he was like, I ain't talking to you, Mitch. And he just sat in the shade, not packing his gear. And then this local came over. Farmer was pissed at me. This local came over and says, hey, there's a fish fry next door. Here's some tickets to the fish fry. Gave us tickets to the fish fry.
Nice.
And our buddies, Nate Scales and Kiwi and Mike, they came and picked us up. And they had been on the ground in Arco when the gust front came through. And they were driving through Arco because they had flown King Mountain that day. They were driving through Arco, and it was like a hurricane in Arco, you know, like roof tiles coming off and stuff, trees almost falling down, that sort of thing. And they look at XC Find, which is our like GPS tracking website, and we're right above them, you know? And then so they actually start chasing us. Then they're like, ooh, we got to make sure these guys are okay.
Oh, my.
But yeah, that was an experience, and that was, you know, I've been chasing record flights for a while, and big flights, and I really enjoy a big day out. And I pushed the envelope. You know, it just pushed too hard. There was nothing that happened to me. It was my mistakes, and I'm lucky to not lucky, fortunate that I flew exactly right to get through that. But I never want to be there again. That was a good learning experience that I hope to avoid.
When you're getting twisted up, man, that is out of control. That's insanity.
Yeah, it was.
I can't imagine.
I'm glad, you know, but I was flying a glider appropriate for my level. I'd been training a bunch on the Enzo 2, flying it in strong conditions, and you know, the training paid off in that situation.
What do you fly today?
For comps, I'm flying an Enzo 3, an Ozone Enzo 3. And my adventure glider is a Ozone Z-Alps, which is a lightweight version of the Xeno. Really nice performance.
Yeah.
And compared to the Enzo 3, that glider feels easy. So,
Do you got some sponsors?
Yeah, I'm an Ozone team pilot.
You are?
I am, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I need to research who I'm having on the show.
Well,
that is awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm very new to the sport. I'm only 2 years in. So
cool.
I'm learning everything I can, but sometimes it's information overload. I literally live down the street from Blossom, so that's my site. I'm flying there pretty much every day.
You know, I've been meaning to get out there. I've heard really good things about it, and I'm not too far away in Santa Barbara, but have to get through the LA traffic somehow. And yeah.
Oh, there's 20 people you could stay with. I'm one of them. If you're welcome to come down, man. And
Cool.
Literally, if we wanted to, we could. Well, I wouldn't say we'd walk. I got a 4x. We'll 4x right up to the top.
Oh, rad! Nice location.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Nice.
I want to just real quick. We got an order of business we want to do. We're at the half an hour mark. We're going to give something away. Every show we give stuff away. So Larry actually from PureOrangeProducts.com has some stuff that he's going to bring to the table. What do you got tonight, Larry?
I wanted to share something that we learned from one of our pilots who's part of the Tri-State Skywalkers group. I don't know if you saw the video, but Mark unfortunately had a motor out and had to do an unscheduled landing. And of course, he had one of our bags with him, so he was able to take it out of his pouch and pack his wing. And Mark had to walk, I think, almost a mile with his wing and his machine on his back. So, but one of the interesting things Mark did, he sent us the video. It's going to be on our website probably tomorrow, and he sent us an email. He took the take-along bag, which we've been known for. We make a very small bag. This is the size it usually goes out in. And what he did, he used a food processor, a food saver, and he vacuum packed it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That was just so cool. So we had one of those vacuum packing machines. It must have been a crummy one because it didn't work. But we went and got one from a food supply place, and we vacuum packed it. And the size difference, especially, I mean, this is for foot launch people, is just incredible. So we are now vacuum packing all of our foot launch bags. So when you get it, if you open it up to check it, of course, it's going to go back to its size. But if not, and you want to carry it with you, this is the size we'll be able to vacuum pack them for this size.
That's great.
This is his is going to be packed tomorrow. But if you have one of our bags or take-alongs, and you want us to, you don't have a machine available, send it back to us. We'll vacuum pack it. We'll even put your name on it, like we did for Kelby. And we'll do that. We'll put the name on. We'll vacuum pack it. But one thing we ask is that you pay shipping. But if you have one and you don't have access to a machine, I just think this is so incredible. Send it back. Work out the postage with the bag lady, and we'll take care of it for you. So I think because of that, let's give one of these vacuum packed, looks like kind of space food. Let's give one of these away tonight.
Yeah.
But something else that is going to be on our website tomorrow or next week, we are finally bringing to the market our pole holder for those of us that like to take our poles and put our windsocks on them. This can be dug right into the field. Of course, for grass or turf or dirt, wouldn't put this into a concrete field or a paved field. But this would go into the dirt. It is made strong. It's made for us right here in Florida, and naturally, you can just stick your pole in, and that goes right in the ground. And we do also, we're going to be selling the poles that have a patent pending swivel tip on it, so you don't get the wrap around from your windsock. And we're going to be selling these as a kit with the windsock, pole, and the bracket, but we also will sell everything separate as well. I know a lot of people climb onto their cars and scratch their cars, so now you have something that's very sturdy, goes right in the ground. And let me tell you, I've had one in the backyard for 3 weeks with a pole on it, and it doesn't budge. So you'll see that on the website. I think we're going to be shipping these next week, and they should be on the website tomorrow, so you can take some pre-orders. But let's give away one of the, after watching Mark's situation, where he had to make an unscheduled landing, he can't talk enough about if he didn't have this with him. Think about walking a mile without a bag in your wing. That's just painful. So this is a product that foot launch, most of us guys that fly trikes and quads, we have plenty of space to carry things. Foot launch, you want to get it as small as possible.
Yeah, not so much.
So let's give one of these away. I don't know.
All right, Sean's ready.
Sean's got names that we can pick.
Oh yeah. I got names. I've messed with this system I call the Wheel of Doom. So let me see if I can get this set up here real quick. I'm quite sure I can. I got to figure out how to screen share this.
I can hear the noises right now. Beep, boop, 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 boop.
I know the computer's squawking at me because I'm like clicking and clicking and clicking. Here we go. Okay, here. Now you can see my screen, right?
Yep.
All right, excellent. Tell me
No,
when
you
to
gotta
spin it.
hit present to everyone.
Oh, hit present to everyone. Wait a minute. I did, didn't I?
Nope.
Yeah. You can. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, huh. Really give me new options now? Oh boy. Yeah, I'll maximize this window here. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Can you see me now?
There we
Yes,
go.
sir. There you go.
All right. Here we go. Winner chicken dinner. And we got Nelson Wings.
Nelson's Wings? Is he in the
Yeah.
chat?
Yeah.
Nelson's Wings, congratulations. Winner chicken dinner. You are the winner
Congratulations.
of the what freeze packed? What did you say?
Well,
Vacuum
to take
seal?
along. Take along.
Take along. Congratulations, Nelson's Wings. I love his channel, by the way.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how it was suspenseful. You see that there was a space
Yeah.
underneath one name and a space on top of it. And it's like, yep, just playing.
God.
You know?
Congratulations, Nelson's Wings. Nelson's Wings, reach out to Larry at paraorangeproducts.com. That's his email. And if anybody else is watching the show and you're interested in getting one of these, you can get one from that same email address, or just go to the website. It's probably easier just to go to the website, paraorangeproducts.com. I'm actually wearing the shirt tonight. Worked out good. Congratulations. And thanks for watching. By the way, thank you so much for watching the show, all the people that are in the chat. You guys are awesome. If you've got any questions queued up for anything that has to do with competitions or free flight, maybe you've got some better questions than I'm asking, feel free to drop those, and the moderators, Larry and Sean, will catch those, and then we'll bring those to the table before the end of the show. We're also going to be giving away the PPG smoke machine for your paramotor, or the chase cam. By the way, I love the chase cam. They sent me one, and I've been testing it out, and it's just incredible.
Rub it
especially
in.
for glass off at Blossom. Amazing. Mix that up with the GoPro Hero 7 with the stabilization, and it's incredible. I remember watching this video, by the way, back in the day, of a guy who put a GoPro like 4 on a gimbal. And I don't know if you saw this, Mitch, but it was like it was a big contraption, man. And the gimbal kept the camera nice and still, but it had this like big arm on it, and it had a flapper in the back and keep it straight. And he had ran a wire up to the glider, followed one of his lines down to a little controller. And I mean, it was serious, man. These guys did it up. But now with the GoPro with the stabilization in it, it's you don't need that. But these guys in Europe had, and so I remember seeing that video, and I started the process to actually make that same thing, and I'm so glad that I didn't have to do it, because it probably would have got caught in my glider and killed me. All right.
Now there was a question in the chat earlier. I'm going to go back to it here because it's quite a ways back. I believe.
Yeah, we'll go back to those in a few minutes.
Okay.
I've got some great things lined up, by the way, for the future shows. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to check out paraglidingtalk.com. The website has all the past episodes, especially if you're a newer pilot and you're interested in getting into the sport. There's all kinds of resources all throughout the show, and there's all kinds of things that you can learn. We also posted about half of the shows on iTunes, Apple iTunes, so you can listen to them when you're driving or whatever. Just want to put that out there. And don't forget to follow the show on it's on Instagram now. So check out Paragliding Talk on Instagram. So Mitch, what's coming next for your big competitions? What's on the agenda?
You know, my next big one is the World Championships, which is in August. And I'm one of 4 U.S. pilots going there. It's in Macedonia in August. So it's Cody Mittank, Bradley Ganuscio, Bianca Heinrich, and myself. And I'm really excited about that. That's a 2-week competition.
Nice.
And obviously a lot of the best pilots in the world will be there. A lot of good old friends will be there. And I'm really excited to kind of work on my comp flying more and work on my self-discipline more. And I think that would be a good place to do it.
So We've had Brad Ganuscio on the show, by the way, one of my favorite shows. And if you go back to watch that show, we spent a lot of time talking about reserves, and he's thrown reserves a lot. And he's very outspoken about throw it, just throw it, have fun, and enjoy life. So I want to ask. This is going to sound very naive because I don't really understand the foundation of the competitions really. But so when you say Team USA, there's 4 of you representing the United States. Do you guys fly together as a team to try to work off of each other, or is it kind of everyone for themselves and you're just one of 4 Americans?
You know, I'd say a combination of the two.
Okay.
Especially as we get later in the competition, if one of us is doing very well and the other of us aren't doing that well, then the ones who aren't doing that well might just always take the decision with that pilot that's doing well, so they always have air buddies, right? That's one example of where we might work together a little bit. A lot of the team is going to be happening before and after flying, right? So looking at the course, we have the course before we take off, right? So looking at the course and talking about what might be cruxes in the course, talking about plans, looking at flights after the fact, kind of working as a team to think about what each of us needs to perform better. But then, yeah, in the area, there'll certainly be some team flying, and where we can, we'll support each other. So yeah, combination of the two. When you guys
Plan your hotel stay and all that stuff, do you guys try to stay together?
Yeah, it's a very small town with kind of small lodging opportunities, but we're staying within a 5-minute walk of each other.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, man. That's great. So I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. So you got 125 pilots? Is that about average?
For the world, it's 150.
Oh my word. How do you find your friends? And especially when everybody's flying these comp wings, you know, it seems to me like it's a lot of Xenos and Enzos and a lot of the same colors.
You know what? After having done it a lot, you learn to recognize speed sleeves and helmets and what buffs they're wearing and flying styles. So I could go to a comp across the world tomorrow, and on the very first day, I'll recognize half the people in it because I fly with them a few times a year. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that happens at Blossom too. There's like 20 guys that, like, I'll be editing videos and my wife will be like, "How do you know everyone?" You know, we were on the ground and I brought a buddy and I was like, "Yeah, that's so and so, that's so and so." From, you know, yeah, that's true. Yeah, man, that's exciting. So what do you? Yeah, as far, and I hate to keep on asking questions about competitions, but this is my show and I'm interested. When you sign up for a competition, how do they select who they're going to allow to be in that competition? What do you have to do to get in? I know you can't. So, not everyone makes it.
So there are different tiers of competitions, right? So the Applegate Open, the one I just did, it's an open competition. So I think for the race division, maybe you need a P4, and then for the sprint you might need a P3. But basically, anyone who has that criteria can enter. And by the way, I'd recommend it for any pilots who are learning XC or want to progress their cross country flying, because there's nothing like being on a course with 125 other pilots and seeing where the air is working, where it's not working, what moves were the right moves, what moves were the wrong moves. The feedback is just immediate, really tight feedback loops in a competition. So that's the open competitions are kind of like whoever wants to sign up can pretty much sign up. And then when you go up from there, there's higher level comps that you need entry for. So the Paragliding World Cup is a circuit that goes all over the world. There's about 5 of them a year. And for that, you need to have done well in your national open comps. So you need to have done well in national open comps, and then you can go to the Paragliding World Cup. And then to get into the World Championships, basically you have to be one of the top ranked pilots in your country. And then you can go to the World Championships.
What do you think about? Go ahead.
Well, and the World Championship is every other year. So the last one was in 2017, and this one's this summer.
Who did you want to win the X-Alps?
I know enough about the race not to have that desire. I was excited to watch it, and I'm really happy with how our U.S. pilots did. Right?
Yeah.
It is an incredibly hard race. I did it in 2017.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, I did. And it is, yeah, it's a fascinating race, right? All the decisions you have to make, whether to hike up a mountain or whether to run the valley.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a really fascinating race and a really, really difficult race. So, you know, congrats to Gavin, to Cody, to Willie. Eduardo lives in the U.S. of Team Mexico. Those guys did an amazing job, and all the athletes in the X-Alps. It was really cool to watch. Well done, guys.
Yeah, those guys
And girls.
hustled, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Masterlers. Kinga. She didn't.
Kinga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could.
Kinga and Dominica, she got cut pretty early, but Dominica's a really good pilot also.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with this year's push too. I liked at the end how Paul Guschebauer and
Benui, right? Yeah,
yes.
Benui Otters. Yeah.
Yes. They that was so cool, man.
Yeah, how
I got
flew together and hiked together and made it in together. That was really cool.
Super fun. He actually Paul Guschebauer was here this last year. I got to fly with him here at Blossom, and he was hanging out. He was in the area for a little while. We had him on the show, and he just did a huge adventure where he flew Super Cub from the northernmost point of Alaska all the way down to, what was it? It was the southernmost
Tierra
part.
del Fuego. Yeah, Tierra del Fuego, and way south of Patagonia. Yeah, really cool stuff.
Yeah. So
yeah, Paul Guschebauer is a great guy. Huh? Couldn't be a friendlier, nicer, more information sharing guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so let's talk a little bit about the X-Alps since you were a part of it. I didn't realize that you were in it, and I watched it. That was that was when I first got introduced to paragliding, and so.
Oh, cool.
I saw you, and I didn't know you. So, how did that go down? Who was your ground team, and what do you think about moving forward if you got the invite?
Yeah, well, my ground team was two really good friends who actually I flew with a lot in Nepal when I was living there. Mac and Tom. And Max from he lives in Europe, and Tom is from Australia but lives in Nepal. And yeah, they're a great team. There's a lot to learn. You know, your first time doing that competition, a lot to learn. I feel like I learned a lot, but you learn from failure. So I made a lot of mistakes.
And did you make it to Monaco, or did you push it?
No, in 2017, only 2 athletes made it to Monaco. So no, I came in 22nd place or something. Yeah, 22nd place.
Do guys still push on even though the competition's done, just to try to say that they did it?
You're not supposed to.
Oh,
You're
really?
not supposed to. It's the award ceremony and party is supposed to be mandatory, and that happens like a day after the finishing, or
okay,
like 12 hours after the finish.
That makes sense.
But Dave Turner, when he did it in 2015, he said screw it to the awards party and finished. Yeah.
No kidding. We need to get Dave on here. Dave's such a champ.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah.
I don't know how to get a hold of him. I don't think he's a very big presence on social media. Somebody has to, if you're watching, if somebody's in there and you have a contact for him, hit me up. I want to get him on the show.
I'll send you an email. I got contact.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. You just got to know the right people.
Yeah, Dave and I are buddies. We work together on the tours in Colombia. So Dave's working with us on the Colombia tours every year, and he's a great guide, really good instructor, great to work with.
Yeah, such a cool guy. I watched him with him and Gavin McCloud do the North Unknown.
Yeah. What an adventure, huh?
Gosh, man. Edge of your seat type stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole thing, man. You ever do any adventure flying?
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah.
Fly?
Yeah. I've done a bunch of bivy flights in the Himalayas in Nepal and India. And then did a pretty cool 5-day trip. It was a combination of a couple 3-day trips in Alaska in the Wrangell Mountains, and some other random trips here and there.
Do you have anything on YouTube? Any videos?
I do have some YouTube videos. Yeah, you can search Mitch Riley. My channel is Mitch Riley, Riley.
Nice.
And I've actually given myself the goal this summer of coming up with an average of a video every 10 days or so.
Okay.
So I've been putting some videos up. I have one to upload, and then I'm working on the next edit.
I'm pulling it up right now.
The latest one I put up, the Shasta video, is pretty cool.
Oh, you were
Flying Volcano Country, I think.
just recently?
Yeah, it is cool. Just recently, yeah, right before the Applegate Open, Nick Grease, Cedar Wright, and I did this big triangle and finished with flying right near the peak of Mount Shasta.
No kidding.
And got photos and video and threw together a pretty cool edit. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a really fun day. And those Cedar Wright and Nick Grease are really good friends of mine, so it was a special day with friends. It's cool.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking at your picture from the X-Alps on Google. What the heck? I do remember seeing you on there. Gosh, man, this is the second time this has happened to me where I didn't realize who I was interviewing until the show. See, this
it's hard to know everything about everybody.
The show needs to make me full time. That's what needs to happen. I need to not have a job, and then this can be my gig.
That's what I say.
That sounds pretty good, right? Thursday nights, I'll go.
Yeah, that's it. and of course, I'll make some YouTube videos. Don't worry.
You're making some good videos.
Yeah. Excellent, man. So, okay, let's reel this in a little bit. You've got some future goals, I assume. You've already done some massive things in the sport.
While we're on the X-Alps subject, do you mind if I interject?
Please.
I'm organizing the first multi-day hike and fly races in the U.S. We've done 2 at Marshall already, the Far Out and Back. It's faroutflying.com. Yeah. And I'm just about, in the next couple of days, maybe this is the first announcement of it, we're going to announce a hike and fly race in the Owens Valley. It's going to be right around the 3rd weekend of September.
No way. What is the website again? Far Out?
Faroutflying.com.
Yeah. I'm going to put that in the description right after the show.
Totally. And we're really hoping to grow those, because as it is, we don't have a training ground for hike and fly racing in the U.S.
Right.
And it's a fascinating sport that really requires a lot of training. So, these comps can get there, but we need participation.
Did you get Gavin involved?
Not yet.
And you have, obviously you guys are friends, I assume?
Yeah, Gavin and I are good buddies.
Yeah. He's been on the show as well.
Cool.
He was episode 3, I believe. Such a cool guy.
Sweet.
I'm really, and if you're watching Gavin, incredible job in the X-Alps. Very proud to know of you and stoked and can't wait for you to get back. Super cool.
Yeah. Good job, Gavin.
faroutflying.com. So what is that going to entail? And I know that there's a handful of guys that are going to be excited to hear about that.
So the format we've used so far in the 2 races we've had and the one we'll use in the Owens, it's the weekend format. So the race starts Saturday morning and ends Sunday night. And it's as far away from the start point and back as you can make it in that 33 hours, right? And you either have to be carrying all your flying gear or flying with it. You can go whatever direction you want. So it's fascinating, right? You decide the direction you go, you decide your turn point where you turn around, and you need to make it back to get your full score. Every kilometer you don't make it back is detracted from your score.
Okay. And it's, obviously fly as far as you can to a certain point and then turn back. But if you land out, then that's where it becomes the ground aspect of it and running and all that.
Yeah, I think in a perfect forecast, let's say the Owens Valley, let's say we start at McGee. In the perfect forecast, you might fly up to Tahoe the first day, walk back for a fair amount of that night, and then hike up to a launch in the Sierra the second day and finish, the second day fly all the way home. And then you're done with your race when you land, if you land back. Yeah. So, I think it's a good format because it gets the whole race done in 2 days. Yeah. Having the start and finish in the same place means that people can just take their weekend and come and do the race as opposed to having to take days off work.
Right.
So I think it's a good way to get the sport started in the U.S., but I would like to transition to having one or maybe even two longer versions, 5 or week long, 5-day or week long races where you have turn points like X-Alps style.
I'm sure that it would be brutal to even do 2 days. And then you, in the X-Alps, I mean, day after day of the grind.
Yeah.
How did you hold up, by the way, with that? How was your feet in the end?
My feet were, as far as blisters, I got a few blisters, but no big deal. My feet were okay. I had a lot of knee pain one day and had to kind of like take a good, almost a half a day off and do massage and stretching and hot, cold stuff. But I was able to work with it the next day. And then a few days later, it was mostly okay. So, yeah, I'm really happy with how my body held up. I think my training was decent with it. Obviously there's places to improve, but I didn't fall apart body-wise.
Nice. One of the questions I was going to ask is who are you drawing inspiration from these days, and who do you fly with the most?
It's a fantastic question. Let's start with who I fly with. I've had a lot of mentors. I moved around a lot to a lot of different flying communities. So, when I was in Idaho flying with Nate Scales and Matt Farmer and Gavin and Carell and all those guys, I learned a ton from them. When I was in Nepal, I was working with a guy, Primoz Pobonik, who was rated #1 in the world in 2007 and like #2 in 2008. Just one of the best pilots the world's ever seen as far as comp flying goes. So I learned a ton from him. And in Santa Barbara, my buddy Neil, I fly with a ton. Marty DiVietti, I fly with a bunch. And we've got this really growing group of Santa Barbara pilots that are pushing each other and super motivated and flying smart and training well. So I get to fly with a lot of them a bunch. Yeah, so I'm fortunate. I get to fly with a lot of other pilots all over the U.S. and all over the world, which is super fun. And who do I draw inspiration from? For comp flying lately, I've been thinking a lot about how Charles Cazot flies. He's a French pilot. He recently won the French PWC, and he's been in the top 10 or 15 in the world for 15 years, which is, it's not easy, right? It's not easy to be in that position for that long.
Stay there.
And yeah. And when you race a week of comp flying with him, you understand that he has the skills and the ability to push out and make moves, but he only saves them for exactly the right time, right? Those are the masters, the ones who can dominate the gaggle and work the gaggle just right and fly with basically their buddies just right. And then when they see kind of a moment to attack, can attack, right? And if you attack at the wrong moment, even if you made a good call, that gaggle is going to beat you, You have to attack at just the right moment, and Charles Cazot is a master at that. So for my comp flying, I've been thinking about the way he flies a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to the questions? There were some questions. Did you guys wrangle in a few before we're out of time? We got just a couple more minutes left, and then we're going to turn Mitch loose.
Yeah, there was a guy by the name of Tom Slipin. Sleepin, yes, I butchered his name. Sorry, Sleepin.
He's been on the show. He was a guest.
I've been sleeping myself. He says, Mitch, can you give us some details on how you prepare mentally for comps for the big flights? And he says, I'm pretty sure you meditate. Do you use a specific meditation for your paragliding or any other mental preparation?
Sure. I think, the first part is trying to be relaxed. I know the more relaxed I am, the wider my view of options is, right? The more I'm feeling my glider because my body's relaxed, my hands are relaxed, all that stuff, and feeling these subtle sensations from my glider that might tell me about lift or tell me about sink or whatever, and keep my glider open, which is nice. And I think the first part of staying relaxed and having a good mental attitude for that is the training, right? Be on gear that you're good on, know that you're going to be good on that gear for the competition or for the big flight. And then the meditation I do before a big flight or before a competition is often it's kind of mixed with a little bit of stretching to get my body loose. But I'm concentrating my breathing some, and then I'm kind of running through my body from head to toe and looking for any tense parts and concentrating on relaxing them, right? So a couple places I hold tension often are in my shoulders. Often I'll hold tension in my face, right? My neck. And then in flight, I'll often find myself holding tension in my fingers. My fingers might start to grip a little more, and my toes will do the same. And same thing, if in flight, I'm finding myself kind of having fear responses, which I don't think are good for my safety or good for my flying. I'll do that again. I'll scan my body and try to just relax anything that's tense, which often for me, like I'll be making a face like this, and my shoulders might be a little tight, and my hands might be a little gripped, my toes might be a little gripped. So if I go through and relax those stuff and take a couple of conscious deep breaths, then all of a sudden I'm doing with the glider, but smiling and having a good time, as opposed to being like that.
Yeah.
I'm a true believer that maybe we define fear as differently, but this fear that kind of gets you tense and gets you gripped, it's the fear we see in people before they hit that tree, right? Before they fly right into that tree, or before off takeoff, they do a right turn into a bush or whatever it is. For me, the more relaxed I am, once again, it has to do with good training. It has to do with knowing that I'm comfortable in the conditions and on the equipment I'm on. The more relaxed I am, the wider my view of options. So if I see a tree over there, I'm going to say, oh, where's the clear area, right? If I'm not sure I can make that landing zone because I have a headwind, if I'm relaxed, I'm going to look over my shoulder and see what landing zone I have behind me, right, where I have a tailwind. But if I'm tense, it's like the deer in headlights thing, right? You're going to run into that tree, or you're going to keep pushing for that landing zone and land in the neighborhood when you had a landing zone downwind. So yeah, for me, I really like to try to be as relaxed as possible. And if you want to fly 9 or 10 hours, if you want to do record flights, it's not going to be work to be stressed out for 9 or 10 hours. You're just not going to handle it. Your endurance is going to go down. You got to be relaxed.
Yeah. How do you get into that mindset, man? I think a big part of it is hours, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Having a lot of time underneath the wing that you love. I'm flying a Rook. It's a
Nice.
777, and I love it. But I'm at the crossroads now where I kind of want to either go to the Rook 3, or, I've got a ton of hours. I'm thinking about going maybe into the C class, and it's like this toss up. I've been talking a lot with my instructor, Phil Russman, and he's like, you got to go, Rob. And I'm like, well, it's a crossroads, because I'm still kind of new to going into a C class, and that's a whole different other show. I don't want to.
So I'll say something to that really quick.
Yeah, please.
The advice I always give for people looking to step up is it's competence and confidence, right? You need both of those. And they're very competent pilots who've been flying for 30 years who love flying B-class wings, right? And fly big XC on them and all that. They're very competent pilots who do that. The competence, you can get an idea of your competence based on how you're performing compared to others, based on how you're performing when you recover your glider. If you've done maneuvers or SIV, you can get an idea of your competence, right? The confidence, no one can tell you that, right? It's kind of something you need to know. And even if the competence is there, if the confidence is not there, you're liable to get that new glider and enjoy flying a little less, which isn't going to help you fly a lot and get used to it and all that stuff. And you might be a little less likely to go for that strong thermal that a buddy's marking, right? Because you're like, I'm not comfortable on this glider. I'm going to go over here. It might be weaker, and then you'll bomb out.
Interesting. No, I've felt that before.
Yeah. Along with that, maybe I'm going on a divergence here, but
no, please.
I think a lot about perceived danger and actual risk, right? So that the strong thermal that your buddy's rocking it up in, there's some perceived danger or at least uncomfort there, right? We're like, ooh, I'm going to have to go through that thermal edge. I'm going to get rocked around a little bit, and I'm going to be going up really fast. And the barrier is going to be making that noise that might stress me out. But going somewhere else, going over here where there's not a strong thermal, is going to put you in a position where you might be scratching low to the ground in the middle of a summer day, right? Or you might be landing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever it is, which does actually hold risk. There's real risk there.
Absolutely.
Strong thermal, thousands of feet over the ground, the actual risk is pretty low, but the uncomfort is there. So it's funny how often there are kind of a lot of decisions like that, how often pilots choose the more comfortable option, not going to the strong thermal, but pretty soon it puts them landing in the desert in the middle of the day, or it puts them, like having to catch rocketing thermals right next to the ground instead of over here, where you're thousands of feet up.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I've been there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's something else I've been thinking about a ton, which is cognitive dissonance. Maybe I'm using the term wrong, but a lot of new thermal pilots, and even myself, if I'm in a turbulent thermal that's moving the glider and my vario is just blasting away, really, really strong vario sounds, there's a little uncomfort, right, to that. And I'll notice my brain start to look for alternatives. And if I'm going for efficiency, if I'm trying to do well in a comp, or if I'm trying to have a big XC days, the best place I could possibly be is the strongest thermal of the day, right? That's as good as it gets. That's the efficiency. And the actual danger of that thermal, low, right? Because I've got ground clearance. I'm where the air is going up. I'm putting myself in a better position to land later in the day and to have more landing options or more options for the next move. But still, my brain starts to look for alternatives to this, like, to this really strong thermal. And it's like that with gaggle flying. And you see a lot of people leave the gaggle when it's not time to leave the gaggle because they're a little uncomfortable being close to the other pilots, right? So I think also we see this all the time. New pilots will wait to be the last ones to launch because they're embarrassed about their launch skill. Oh, right. They'll actually, like, the worst time for a new pilot to launch is the last one, right? We don't want new pilots up on the mountains by themselves.
Right.
But they'll wait for everyone else to launch and be the last ones to launch so that no one's judging their launch skills. So the cognitive dissonance is something interesting to think about.
Do you think that would be counterintuitive, really? Because, you're waiting till the last to launch. You're not really gaining anything by not showing anybody. And somebody could say, hey, man, I noticed that you're checking your brakes too long, or you have a tendency to lean to the right or oscillate when you're, it seems counterintuitive because they can't learn from it if they're not showing somebody what they're doing,
Exactly. And hey, if you know your launches are not always perfect, we all know how to improve that, Yeah. Go practice some ground handling, practice it in a lot of different conditions.
Yeah.
Get your launches figured out.
Yeah. Mitch, I really appreciate you coming on the show. My last question for you is, will you come on the show again?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Yeah,
nice.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm so glad that this worked out. And I really, seriously, if you're down in the area, you've got a place to stay. You're welcome to come by. And like I said, down the street from Blossom, come hang out, man. I know the locals would love to fly with you. And
I'd love to also. I've been looking at Chris Cote's flights for a long time and other guys' flights in the area. And I'll be coming down sometime. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You see that last one, Cote? We'll have we'll have an after show and we'll talk a little bit about it because it's pretty incredible. Thank you so much, everybody who's in the chat. I really appreciate you guys being a part of the show. We are going to give something away before we end here. I have ended the show before doing the big giveaway. that happened once.
Yeah.
The person who won already won, so it doesn't really matter. But the winner chicken dinner of the ppgsmoke.com PPG smoke machine or chase cam, your choice. Brian Hobbs from California, Hobbs Family Adventure on YouTube. Congratulations, you are the winner chicken dinner. I will be sending you an email with the details on how you can collect your winnings. Congratulations, and thank you for watching the show. You are awesome. Thanks again. We've got some cool shows lined up coming soon. Stay tuned. Go to paraglidingtalk.com. Support the show if you're interested in seeing the show continue to grow. You can support the show on Patreon or PayPal, and those links are in the description. Please do that. For the price of a cup of coffee, you can learn something that might save your life or keep you from breaking yourself. And thanks again. Really appreciate it. Mitch. Thank you. Larry, appreciate you coming on. Sean, thank you for what you do. And we'll see you on the next one. If I don't see you on the air, I'll see you in the air. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, guys.